Hey everybody, Mandolin back here with you again. And today is a subject that most people feel uncomfortable discussing. And that subject is death, or as I like to refer to it, transition. So, over the weekend, a young man that I had the absolute privilege and honor of knowing and getting to know a little bit, he drowned. He was in the presence of two younger boys, and the circumstances being what they were, there was nothing they could do. So when my son sent me the message and told me that this young man was missing, was what I got, that he went in the water and they never saw him come out, I immediately went to his energy to try and assist, because we had discussions, spiritual discussions, and we had come to the conclusion that he must have been a member of the Fae. And I wholeheartedly believe that for sure now. So when I went to him, and I wrote down some of what came across, when I went to him energetically, and I said, "Where are you? Where are you? They're looking for you." And I did make contact. He was like, "Hey, I'm here." And he said to me, "The colors are so vibrant. The sensation of moving through the layers of colors is such a rush." And I thought at that point that he was lost in the woods. And I said, "Well, what happened?" I said, "Just keep walking, keep going, you'll find your way out." I said, "What happened?" He said, "I don't know, I just took a breath." And then he told me that that the sun shining on the water is what the light looked like now. So, assessing it from another perspective, now I realized that he was going up through the layers as his soul left the body, left the vessel, and that he had finally reached, his divine presence energy. So then I got an update that they had found his body, and it was at the hospital, or what they said, he was at the hospital. And so at that time I was still holding on. And so I continued I said, he says, "Hey, there's others here." And I said, "Okay." I said, "Listen to them. They may be your guides. Just see what's going on and what you need to do." So then very shortly after that, I got the message that he was gone. The human part of me, yes, it did happen. But I continued to maintain contact. And I said, the beings around you are here to guide you. They are your guides. Do not stay tethered to that body if it's your time. He was confused. I sensed a lot of confusion. And I told him, I said, "You have transitioned. Okay, you're back to the original form. You're back to being the Fae." I told him, I said, "Let go of the heaviness if this is your wish, and go with with those guides that are there for you." And then he really had this lightness about him. His life was not necessarily an easy one. But the last thing that I got from him before he went with his guides was, "I'm okay." And talking to my son, he said that he at times he would, run into something, a little bit of clumsiness, and it was always, "I'm okay." Now, where are we going with this? We have to understand we suffer because that person is not going to walk through our door the next day. That's what our suffering is all about. But if you had a connection with that person, you can experience them on a non-physical, energetic level. It's important that we start realizing this. what you are doing is you are missing the physical interaction. But what you have to know is that there can be interaction on another level. And the message that is here today comes from my seventh dimensional aspect, where my angelic presence performs the task of helping with transition. This aspect wants to speak for herself, and this process, I'm very self-conscious about it, so I'm going to relax myself by explaining to you what is happening right now. The physical body is very dense, but these higher frequency aspects are very light. And what we do is we create a space. We create a space where the higher aspect comes down just a little bit, and where the lower aspect comes up. That way, it's easier for both beings to communicate freely in a harmonious frequency. Greetings. My name is Sarota, and I exist in the angelic realm, where we hear all of your prayers and all of your requests. Know that death, as you call it, simply means that one cycle ends and another one begins. As you bring yourself to the end of that cycle of being embodied in the physical, your time of transition approaches. Due to the shift and the magnitude of the changes in the frequency around us when we are in the lower frequencies, it's necessary for us to put death in perspective and see it for what it truly is, a transition of energy. For when one cycle ends, another begins, and it is an eternal, infinite process. When you feel that imminence, your guides gather. And you must know that we can only help if you ask and allow us. For free will is yours, and we respect it. What may be a tragedy could be a very important lesson for one. So in those moments, if you desire assistance, reach out and take the hand that we've extended. In the situation of this young one, which is so recently departed, know that he has departed a physical body, but his energy is still present. He sees your grief. And while he loves you dearly, he cannot become a part of that heavy energy. The way to honor and the way to respect him is to allow him to ascend into his true natural frequency. Because you don't see a physical representation before your eyes does not mean he is not there. For the echo of that energy is the voice that you hear in your heart. Know that there are so many deaths occurring right now, and those are mass exits. These exits have a purpose. And just like this young man, it was their choice to go. The method of the transition can be quite hard on those left behind. In the case of a sudden death, this young man did not realize that he had indeed physically stopped his cycle. His energy was confused. He always knew that today would be the day from that higher aspect. Had he not passed in that way, perhaps on his way back home walking down the street, he might have been struck by a car. But that was to be his day. And by taking that breath in, he accepted that being his day. He was trusting, listening to that high frequency aspect of himself. And while it's a difficult thing to go through as a human, as a loved one, your ancestors, the ancient ones, they understood death. It was not a thing of fear. The sadness that they felt was transmuted as they paid their respects and allowed that loved one's energy to embark on the next leg of their journey. With this great monumental shift in energy, in density, in frequency, and even dimension, know that you have got to put this in perspective. Many things will transition, pass away, and in pass away doesn't mean that they're gone. It means they've passed away to somewhere else. But these things have been manipulated through the ages to cause fear. It's time for the understanding of the truth, of the true nature, to come out and to be realized. Know that in other dimensions, that aspect of you that is a higher frequency can be next to them. You can experience that mingling of the energies, that seeing your friend, talking to your mother, and understand that the why is not about a punishment. The why is about a liberation, a freedom. The soul's journey is a beautiful thing. And the most loving thing that we can do is respect their journey. So know that when somebody close transitions and passes to that next leg of the journey, know that the suffering you feel is because of the lie that you believe, because of the fear that has been put into you. So I hope that this helps anyone that is feeling the despair of a past loved one. I say to you, you can still reach them. And if you think you hear them, you do. The physical that you know so well is the deception, for the energy continues on in another form. I come to you with the humblest of blessings and the sincerest of compassion for the journey which you've undertaken. And I say to you, call on me when there is a need. Also understand that you must accept it. I leave you blessings. Okay. Those are some pretty high frequencies to play in. If you did watch the entire transmission, this was a transmission of energies from the angelic realm. What you probably need to do now is to take just a moment to ground and get your bearings a little bit. So I did say I had some new things coming and that things were starting to heat up, so to say. So that was it for today. And know that if you are experiencing the sting of death, that there is a way to deal with it, and you must realize that death simply means transition. So I'm gonna get off of here and get into something else for a minute, and I'm gonna wish you such a beautiful day and give you such gratitude for joining me and for listening to the message. And remember, it's time to manifest your new experience. Okay. Bye, y'all. Much love.
Over the hills and far